This public hearing and special meeting of the Planning Commission is being held with some members physically present at the Civic Center and some participating electronically as provided under Code of Virginia, Section 2.2-3708.2, subsection A.3, which permits public bodies to meet by electronic communications without a quorum, physically assembled at one location since on March 12th, 2020, Governor Northam declared a state of emergency for the Commonwealth of Virginia arising from the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. The purpose of this meeting is to, 1, hear public comments on the application for a zoning map amendment to rezone 303 Jefferson Avenue and 309 Jefferson Avenue from residential 1 to commercial 1. 2, review and make a recommendation to Town Council on an application for a zoning map amendment to rezone 303 Jefferson Avenue and 309 Jefferson Avenue from residential 1 to commercial 1. 3, set a public hearing date for an application for a conditional use permit at 1 Fig Street. And 4, set a public hearing date for an application for a conditional use permit at 301 Mason Avenue. An audio recording is being made of this meeting. This meeting is also being live streamed on Facebook. Public comments will be accepted this evening via Facebook Live and emails to planner@capecharles.org. Comments were also solicited to be emailed to the clerk, planner, and planning technician prior to the meeting. All votes taken this evening will be by roll call vote and recorded in the minutes. Any commission members who leave the meeting or arrive after start of the meeting must verbally note their attendance. Only essential business of the town of Cape Charles can be done in this manner. These procedures will remain in effect until the COVID crisis has been alleviated. Do any of the commission members have any questions about this process? Right?
McCoy, no.
You can answer.
All right. So I want to call to order the public hearing and special meeting, March 2nd, 2021, 6 p.m. I need a roll call.
McCoy here.
Unmute yourself.
It's unmuted.
Yuta present.
Yeah, I'm a co-present.
Holloway present.
Grossman present.
Okay, let it be shown that we have a quorum. We will now have a public hearing. Just a minute. The Cape Charles Planning Commission will hold a public hearing via electronic communications on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the Cape Charles Civic Center, 500 Tazewell Avenue, to receive comments on a request made by Patina Green LLC, DBA Susie's Old Fashioned Frozen Custard, to rezone 303 Jefferson Avenue, tax map number 83 Alpha 1-184 Charlie, and 309 Jefferson, tax map number 83 Alpha 1-1-81 Charlie, from residential 1 R1 to commercial 1 C1. Said services through said rezoning would enable the addition of a golf cart drive-through service window to the existing structure and improved exterior seating. The intent is to operate a frozen custard shop with a golf cart drive-through service. The Planning Commission will hold a meeting immediately following the public hearing to consider this request. All right, so we have an application. At the public hearing, we have an application for a zoning map amendment, rezoning of 303 Jefferson Avenue, Tax map number 83 Alpha 1-1-84 Charlie and 309 Jefferson Avenue, tax map number 83 Alpha 1-1-81 Charlie, from residential R1 to R1 to commercial 1 C1. Do we have any public comments, live public comments? No live public comments?
We have no comments on Facebook so far.
Okay, so we do have written comments. So the planning technician going to read those comments, please.
Okay. My name is Odessa Sullivan. My address is 606 Strawberry Street at Jefferson Avenue. I am contacting you regarding rezoning at 303 Jefferson Avenue at Strawberry Street. My answer is no. I have lived here for many years. This area has always been residential. I was born on this very spot 74 years ago. I do not wish to live in a commercial area. With the previous owners of the eatery, several times I had to go in and request that the car be moved from blocking my driveway. There was a lot of traffic without a golf cart window. Adding a drive-through will increase traffic. I as well want to enjoy my summer, but without commercial traffic. The more people in a commercial area, the more careless they become, disregarding their trash. It's a no for me, resident and taxpayer of the town of Cape Charles. Odessa Sullivan. Planning and Zoning Commission. I am opposed to the rezoning of 303-309 Jefferson Street for residential to commercial. My property is directly across from this location and would be directly impacted by the zoning change. This area of town is made up mostly of full-time homeowners with limited vacation rentals, which makes it a quieter section of Cape Charles. Some issues that occurred with the previous owners: ice cream sandwich shop operating in the space, which had very limited seasonal hours, included loitering on picnic tables outside of business hours, increase in vehicles, sometimes blocking driveways as well as Jefferson Street, increase in trash and yard from customers, increase in loud music coming from golf carts. Changing to commercial zoning would double the current size of the existing business and change the makeup of the current neighborhood. It could potentially negatively impact property values. It will definitely enhance all the previous issues mentioned above and perhaps create more. My understanding of the proposed plan would encourage more traffic by creating a drive-through service as well as double the outdoor dining space. This would be a much larger space than my commercial spots on Mason. Than many commercial spots on Mason. This does not complement the existing low-density residential homes in the immediate area. I also understand that there will be increased lighting on the property, changing the current look of the neighborhood. Right now, the plan by the current owners is to create an enhanced experience for a new frozen custard business. Rezoning to commercial does not protect the neighborhood from what could potentially be built in the rezoned area. Should the current owners sell or wish to expand into a different business plan, rezoning the space has a limited potential for future developers. I don't think this is the best interest of our community. I'm disappointed that there has been work going on in this space as if the zoning has already happened. This has already changed the look of what is a residential space to a commercial looking space. Please don't allow this rezoning to happen. Thank you for your time and attention. Joe Bowick, 526 Strawberry Street, Cape Charles. I hope I pronounced the last name right.
All good
Good
points.
afternoon. I oppose rezoning the residential parcel to commercial. This is primarily due to the future exposure that this would allow should the current owners of 303 Jefferson choose to sell the property at any point in time. Having a commercial piece of property twice the current side lends itself to numerous types of structures and would certainly take away from the current style of this neighborhood.
Yes.
I live directly across the street from this property as a full-time resident. The majority of the other homes in this area are full-time residents as well. As a result, this is a wonderfully quiet area of town that I hope will stay that way. When the previous owners ran the ice cream shop at its current size and with inconsistent hours of operation, the few picnic tables and benches encouraged late night loitering and trash. The noise and music from the golf carts was always present, and our driveway was constantly blocked by vehicles on the street. Allowing this property to become a commercial space is only going to make this louder, messier, and increase traffic in this residential zone.
Exactly.
I fully support the new owners opening their frozen custard shop in its current location, but don't see the need to rezone the adjacent residential lot as it will double the commercial footprint for any future use. It doesn't appear that adjacent homeowners received any notification of this rezoning request, so I would appreciate you taking my comments into consideration as the long-term future of the residential areas should be protected. Lori Smith. And letters were sent out to adjacent property owners. Okay, hello. Concerning the rezoning 303 and 309 Jefferson from residential to commercial, my concern is that parking will be under control and possible noise at night will be under control. Can you submit this concern during the meeting on March 2nd, or do I have to resubmit? This is very important for senior citizens. Thanks, Tyrone and Patricia Beach, 230 Jefferson Avenue, Cape Charles, Virginia, 23310. And that is all I have as of right now, Mr. Chair.
This is Dennis. Do you have an address for the second last red note?
Second last. For Lori.
I do not.
Okay,
We send all letters out to the what we have listed on the Northampton County website. That's where I
Got
get
it.
all my adjacent property owners.
got it.
from.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that concludes the public hearing comments.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second,
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. I need a roll call vote, please.
Strube, aye.
McCoy, aye.
Buda, aye.
Grossman, aye.
Yamaco, aye.
Thank you. Do we have, item 4 on the agenda is public comments, re-agenda items only. Do we have any public comments, re-agenda items?
I do. Okay. Sure we can. Okay, this is dated March 1st, 2021. It says, Dear Cape Charles Planning Commission and Town Council, as the current property owner, I am writing today to show my utmost support for the reinstatement of the multi-use permit for the Kellogg building located at 3 Fig Street. The property is under contract and the proposed buyers are also in full support of this measure. Given the location, history, and overall stature as a town landmark, it will be exciting to see the building get a breath of new life and create another wonderful addition to the town of Cape Charles. I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you, Josh E. Lattimore. Dear Cape Charles Planning Commission, thank you for the opportunity to comment on the proposal to renew an expired mixed-use residential commercial conditional use permit that was granted by the Town Council in January 2017 for the property known as the Kellogg Building located at 1 Fig Street, Cape Charles, Virginia. My husband, Derek Kinsey, and myself have 1 Fig Street under contract, and the renewal of the original conditional use permit will allow the flexibility necessary for us to economically develop the property into a much more productive asset in Cape Charles. The original conditional use permit was granted upon the request of contract buyer Chad and Beverly Petrus, but the sale was never completed. More than a year later, the property was finally sold to the present owner. We request that you grant the renewal of the mixed-use residential commercial conditional use permit for 1 Fig Street, Cape Charles. Thank you for your time and consideration. Penelope Kinsey. And that is all I have.
Thank you. All right. So going into a special meeting order of business. First one is the application for a zoning map amendment, rezoning a 303 Jefferson Avenue, tax map number 83 Alpha 1-1-84 Charlie, and 309 Jefferson Avenue, tax map number 83 Alpha 1-1-81 Charlie, from residential 1 R1 to commercial 1 C1. Review and make recommendation to town council.
This is Dennis. Katie, I would ask you that you put into record the process that this application has to follow should we not approve. I need to make sure that the requesters know what their recourse is, and we get that in the record.
Sure. If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead. And by the way, go ahead and also after that, you can go ahead and get us up to snuff on the request.
Yeah.
Sure. In terms of the process, the Planning Commission provides a recommendation from your hearing this evening. That recommendation goes to the Town Council. Town Council will schedule a public hearing on the rezoning request, and they are the ones who make the final determination of approval or denial of the rezoning application itself.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie.
Sure. In terms of the presentation of the application, I'm not going to reiterate everything that was said by the chairman in terms of what they are seeking at this point. I will go over the history of the property because I think that is relevant to tonight's hearing. It has a long and varied history. It's been, as best I can tell, over 54 plus years in operation as a business. Primarily for most of its history, it was a barber shop in serving that neighborhood, serving the entire neighborhoods of Cape Charles. In 2014, they closed that business. It went under contract and was sold. And at that time, those new owners came forward and were seeking to operate a business at the location and approached the town and received a determination through the Board of Zoning Appeals that the prior use of a barber shop, which the property was considered a non-conforming use at that point under the town's zoning ordinance. They did consider the use still a non-conforming use. They looked under what is similar commercial zoning uses, and it was determined that a restaurant would be a similar type use to a barbershop, meaning it would be a personal service type industry or business. And it was determined to advance that application forward, and they were Cool Eats was the name of that establishment, and they were seeking to do a ice cream shop and sandwich shop at that location. There was some conversation within the Board of Zoning Appeals hearing and documents from 2015 relative to the adjacent lot, because there is the one where the building is located on, and then the adjacent lot, and how much of that adjacent lot was actually used by the barber shop, which put it into a non-conforming status. And then what the ice cream shop was seeking to do with that vacant lot. It was felt that it may have been used for some ancillary parking, but there's been primarily parking provided on street. So it wasn't deemed really a true element of the barbershop business itself. So moving through that, the Board of Zoning Appeals did take the position that it was a non-conforming use, and a conversion of a barbershop to a restaurant type establishment was acceptable. And they approved that to move forward. And so a variance was granted at that time. Again, they mentioned the adjacent lot. They included it in their vote. There is some minor concern at this point, whether that the inclusion of that adjacent lot as ancillary parking was really an allowable inclusion in their vote, because that's an expansion of the non-conforming use of what had been the barber shop. But that is what their action was in 2015. Now moving forward, we have new owners that have acquired the property. Suzanne Baker has acquired the property, and they are seeking to continue a similar operation, a custard shop with other packaged food preparation and sales, things I believe like croissants, muffins, other baked goods, and I think some coffee items as well. And I think she can speak further to the specifics of her operation that she's trying to seek there. As part of this, they are also seeking to offer the drive-through golf cart service window. And they would like to expand on that vacant lot, some additional outdoor seating capacity, better than what was offered currently through Cool Eats. If everyone can remember, the Cool Eats was located on the two sides on not quite on the sidewalk, but close to the sidewalk. And part of what the proposal is from Ms. Baker is to really move the outdoor seating to be really fully on their property without being anywhere near the sidewalk road areas. As I'm moving through this, one of the items, because they were two vacant lots, or sorry, two lots distinguishable, the town, when it was Allison Fincham was working for the town, she had advised Ms. Baker of the need to actually look at a vacation of the lot lines between the two parcels and bring this all under one parcel control. And that was done, and Ms. Baker recorded that on February 9th, 2021. So we are looking to examine this as one entire parcel by itself at this point in time. We've also asked Ms. Baker to clarify some elements relative to her operations, both her hours of operation, the timeframe of operation, the number of anticipated employees for the company, as well as she has provided the lighting components and the trash components, because we do feel with this being primarily an outdoor operation, because in her letter, she's indicated there would be no indoor seating at this establishment. So we were concerned to ensure that there has been sufficient attention paid to ensuring enough trash receptacles would be provided to address any of the trash concerns that might arise from such an operation. So she has provided all of that information in the packet as well. And she has also given us information on landscaping and other materials to bring it in compliance with the historic district if this should be approved moving forward. From the staff analysis, while we are supportive of the concept of what Ms. Baker is trying to accomplish, I think we are challenged to recommend favorably to the commission this evening, because it just doesn't fully comport within the comprehensive plan of the town. This is truly a traditional residential neighborhood. It is not intended for significant commercial activity. There can be home-based activity, but larger commercial scale activity was not envisioned for this type of a traditional residential neighborhood. And so from that perspective, that has made it challenging from a staff end to see the path forward to support this rezoning. We do feel the comprehensive plan supports this very type of activity that is catering to the commercial sectors that come to visit our community, in tourism, in seasonal residents, and also trying to accommodate the growth of the use of alternate automobile transportation, i.e. the golf carts. And from that perspective, the comp plan does support this type of business. It's just the specific location seems to be a little challenged to meet within the confines of the comprehensive plan. So I think that covers the basic outline of her application and documentation and how this looks within our planning documents. I open it up to any questions that the members may have from myself.
Commissioners have questions of the zoning administrator?
Yes, I did, actually. Has there been any deliberations with the owner about some of these concerns from the other homeowners in terms of lighting, trash, parking, blocking driveways, anything to sort of help remediate that problem so that that business could be successful and not have those issues?
And I'm happy to speak a little bit about this, and I think the applicant would be prepared to speak on some of these elements as well. In terms of the trash and littering, we did address that when we talked with Ms. Baker in terms of ensuring and making aware in her application the number and the type of trash receptacles that would be there. So I think we have identified a sufficient amount of trash receptacles to serve this type of establishment. She has provided her examples of the lighting for the property that would be in compliance and to bring it into conformance with the historic district guidelines. And again, I think they are in a downward trajectory that I don't think they would be intrusive to the residential adjacent property owners. In terms of the parking elements, again, I think that is what she's trying to address through the use of the vacant lot to serve with that drive-through component with the golf carts. That doesn't necessarily address or remediate the concerns that they had with patrons blocking adjacent driveways of adjacent residential owners. And again, maybe that can be addressed with additional signage. And I think the applicant may wish to speak to that particular concern.
Do you want soft tacos or hard tacos?
Hard taco.
Okay.
I'm not serving tacos. Only frozen custard and coffee. So, yeah, if I could address those concerns. So it is now a single lot. And I think that there was misinterpretation of my neighbors who wrote in that they were being, asked the questions they'd been asked 4 years earlier with seeing the increased activity on the lawn. And I'm like, it is a single lot now. And I have no business in fact, I am providing an unsafe business that will bring the property values down in the whole town if I do not let people, encourage them to have a safe out of the street place so that they don't have to line up on the public sidewalk to buy their treat. I'm providing a place off the public sidewalk, out of the public road, that they can sit in their golf cart up to 3. There's room for 3 parking at a time, which is better than driving down the street with a hot beverage, you must admit. The area is decrepit right now. Actually, it isn't right now because I've already started improving the exterior. And part of that is the town's fault, frankly. I have a rusted street sign that has no signs on it, just the post. It was not attractive, let's put it that way. The modifications that I am recommending to the exterior would clearly make it, yes, this is a quaint little ice cream shop. It's not somebody's house. And that will pull that whole street up. It is on Strawberry Street. It's more so, or as much as it's on Jefferson. As you know, that's part of the town plan of Strawberry Street to carry right through to the promenade. So it is actually working with the town's plan to carry across Peach Street, carry across Strawberry Street, to move tourism and to like pull our town together with Washington, which when I moved here was nobody walked down Washington Street. I'm not even sure the sidewalk was there in all of its pieces. And that has become now a place where our tourists and locals, I've been here all year, which segues into another reason why I've got no inside customer space for people. I think this pandemic has taught all of us that if you can offer your goods and services outside social distancing, then that's the smart way to go for the community's health, for your employees' health. Then that's the smart thing to do. And of course, you have accommodated that on Mason and it's a little awkward because those spaces weren't designed for it. I am recommending to build a space that doesn't look completely modern and like it was plonked down into a quaint town. It will look like it's been here more than the barbershop looked like it had been here, and it actually had been here. So I think that that is really ludicrous to not acknowledge that that little square on the corner is commercial, has been commercial. This is not a dramatic change going back 70 years. That in fact it is one of the most in keeping with the town. That corner is a commercial spot. So the traffic problems, I'm like, really? This isn't New Jersey. I don't have the issue of reverse parking over on Jefferson and Strawberry. Nobody has, this isn't a full course meal. Custard has a very short shelf life. You're not going to hang out. People get their treat and they move along. I'm providing plenty of trash receptacles. My employees will keep them emptied. The grounds, it's to my detriment if my place looks dirty and messy and uninviting. It's not, I'm not doing it for the neighbors of the town. The company is doing it for the company. We have a reputation, and there won't be trash, there won't be litter. I've already improved. We're putting in some beautiful crepe myrtles on the right of way. Have pulled out some dangerous spiky things that actually were not a credit to the neighborhood. So I've already improved the appearance of the neighborhood, frankly. In the process, I think that the neighbors overreacted that I had built a parking lot. Well, that's sometimes when it rains every 15 minutes, it takes you a lot longer, and it's called leveling your property first before you do anything to it. That wasn't the final product. So I'm really disturbed that I was somewhat encouraged that we knew that this had been commercial. So rather than go through the contingency, you can use it, you can act commercial, but you're not going to be zone commercial. I would say, why? Why put me through that? Why put why make this a confusion factor in any attempts to resell the property about what it can be used for? One of the points that the historic district told me, well, review board, was that it had been the most continuous commercial property in all of Cape Charles until 2014. So I'm trying to return it to something. I'm not trying to do something radical and new. And in fact, one of the neighbors, that was a vacant lot until 3 years ago. And one of the other neighbors who said they were right across the street from me, that's a vacant lot. And one of the other neighbors, by her own admission, is rarely here, and in fact returned to this area. Yes, she was born in that house, but she was living in New York City for her whole career and travels still. So I'm not trying to say that they don't have, the right to have concerns. Everybody wants a not in my backyard. There's residents on Mason, and they knew when they probably that we all want a boom town, but we don't want to live in a town that is successful. That's what I'm hearing. That, oh, we want a business, and everyone in to my face in that entire neighborhood has said they hope that the business thrives, but they don't want it zoned commercial. So I just don't think that's fair to me as the property owner trying to run a business.
Okay, does anybody else have questions of either the zoning administrator or Ms. Baker?
I do. If we change the zoning on this to C3 or C1, then every use under C1 can be put on that property by right. Is that not true? Katie?
As it stands right now, yes, that is true. There is a chance between now and going to hearing before the council, the town council, we could work with the applicant to see if we could get a conditional use as part of this rezoning application, in which it would restrict the uses allowed that the applicant would be seeking, but that would have to come voluntarily from the applicant. It is not something that we can impose upon them or require them upon your action.
So like, do you
and-
mean like I couldn't drill for oil? I mean, what kinds of?
Well, here's what is allowed in that zoning. Art or antique shops, auditoriums, theaters, assembly halls, automobile repair and small engine repair, automobile service stations, bakeries, barber shops, bicycle and moped sales and rentals, blueprinting shops, boat sales, business and vocational schools, business studios, offices, clinics, childcare and childcare education, commercial schools of instruction, drugstores, dressmaking, tailoring and millinery shops, dry cleaning shops, eating and drinking establishments, financial institutions, florists, gift shops, card shops, stationery shops, funeral homes. Let's see, furniture repair, greenhouse and plant nurseries, grocery stores, hotels and motels, liquor stores, libraries, museums, galleries, music stores, medical or dental or other laboratories, offices, office supply stores, public utilities, public buildings, restaurants, pet shops and pet supply stores, radio and television sales, upholstering shops and fabric stores, watch and jewelry stores, and any use allowable in a commercial zone. So it's not that we are saying we don't like what you want to do. We're just saying if it's zoned to C1, then someday, 20 years from now, when you decide you're tired of that business and want to sell the property, or your heirs sell the property, it could be turned into any one of those things. And I understand why the neighborhood is not happy about that. There is a non-conforming use on the property that allows you to have it as it is. I was on the Board of Zoning Appeals when that was granted. I don't remember talking about the lot to the side of it, but if it's in the minutes. But you can run your business out of that location. But I'm with Katie Nunez on this. I don't see how we can rezone it.
Well, I would certainly not object to voluntarily saying zone it commercial, and we can define what kind of commerce from now into perpetuity. If it doesn't cost me another $1,000 for that permit, how much does that cost?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, an offer of proffers for a conditional use permit would need to be submitted prior to the town council holding their public hearing. We would indicate that we have received some conditional zoning restrictions on your application. And if that is accepted and approved by the town council, those would be recorded through the clerk's office in Northampton County to be a permanent restriction on the use of the property as part of the rezoning.
So Ms. Baker, you understand what she just said?
So if I fill out the other form and say that, yes, we would promise to only use this as a conveyor of foods and beverage type of business, then it could be rezoned, but we have to wait for the next meeting to make this happen.
All of it still requires going to town council for their public hearing for any rezoning to be approved regardless. To potentially achieve support by the planning commission. I don't know if all of them feel this way, but one path could be if we establish conditions on the rezoning itself, limiting the types of commercial uses. And again, we could work through all the uses listed in C1 and what you would be willing to limit them to. That might be favorable from the planning commission to support this, and it could potentially receive favorable action by the town council. If
Okay.
it should with such a condition on it, again, that condition would need to be recorded in the clerk's office as part of the rezoning. And that would be a permanent restriction on the property.
All right, that sounds reasonable and fair to all involved, actually. Would I then have to then pursue my application for appropriateness? Certificate of appropriateness after that? I'm looking at summer coming and going without me being able to sell anything, is my concern here. But let's pursue whatever we got to pursue to make this happen. So what do I do next? You tell me. I will be delighted to do it.
I think we're confused. I don't understand what you're saying about rezoning, Katie.
So I'm not understanding your confusion, Diane. If you could clarify just a tad.
I was asking if on a rezoning, we could put requirements on it. And you're saying we can put requirements on it for, well, till Armageddon. Is that what you're saying?
As a conditional zoning, you can do that. And those conditions, and again, they have to be voluntarily offered by the applicant. It's not something that the town, so it's not something the planning commission or the council can impose upon them.
Right.
So therefore, the applicant would need to volunteer any conditions or restrictions or elements that they would be limiting this rezoning request to, and not availing themselves of everything allowed by right under the zoning ordinance. If that is acceptable from the applicant to advance such a conditional proffer, and then that is then accepted by the town council, by the planning commission and the town council, then yes, we record that in the land use office of the clerk, so that all who may be interested in this property in the future know that there are restrictions for its future use and development. And that was set by a rezoning, a conditional rezoning. It doesn't mean down the road that the town or future owners couldn't petition once again to rezone this property. That would all be part of a similar public hearing process that we're going through today.
Katie, does the business owner have to fund that application? She asked that in front. Nobody answered it.
She is funding it. She has paid her application fee for this rezoning application that we are considering this evening.
So this conditional use zoning is all covered by the fee she's already paid.
Yes, it is covered by, the only thing that is
Great.
not covered is if it, again, it is approved by the town, The actual recordation of such a document with the clerk's office is the
Got
only
it.
fee that has not been charged in this. That is
Got it.
something that once we prepare that document, she would record and cover whatever those fees are. They're not expensive from the clerk's office. I don't know
understand.
what a 1 or 2 page fee charge is over there at this point, but.
Got it. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you for answering that, getting that answer for me too. So I'd love to move this along. How do I proffer this conditional zoning proffer? Limiting the zoning request to food.
No.
Operation.
What point of order?
First of all, Paul's had his hand raised here. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I'm just looking for perhaps an alternate path. And that's right now, currently, those 2 properties have been granted a variance to conduct a business in that establishment. And it did not dictate the level of development in that second lot. And I'm asking Katie, is a path forward here to go back to the Board of Zoning Appeals with more definition on that second lot to determine their concurrence?
Paul, and I know we talked this afternoon about this to get some clarity on the Board of Zoning Appeals prior actions on this. I think there was an error made at that time, because while there was discussion and conversation about the vacant lot and its use for some ancillary parking for the barber shop, it really wasn't considered to be part of the barbershop operation. And the barbershop operation came into its being prior to the zoning. And then as the zoning was adopted by the town and its continued use, it was then considered a non-conforming use. One of the elements under your non-conforming statute is there should be no expansion of the non-conforming use. So any use of that vacant lot to expand this operation, whether it had been, say, under Cool Eats, as an ice cream shop, or under Ms. Baker's proposal now for her concept, I probably would err. I'm not sure the BZA for expansion of that zoning is really appropriate, because it's a non-conforming use under the BZA definition right now, and expanding her operations to include that golf cart drive-through and expanded seating on that lot, I think would be an expansion of the non-conforming use, and that is not allowed under the ordinance.
All right, so how do you read the meeting minutes back in 2015 that says both lots are included in the variance?
I know that they included both lots in their vote in motion, but it also was clearly stated that they were concurring the determination that a barber shop to a restaurant, i.e. the ice cream store and sandwich shop, was really a determination of the use being a continuation of the non-conforming use. But there was conversation in that meeting that the parking lot, the vacant lot, being used as ancillary parking, was not part of the barbershop operation and could not be part of that non-conforming designation. So I think they erred. They discussed it, but in their motion, they forgot their discussion and they just went ahead and approved for both lots.
But it's all one lot now.
Well, I have a question. Back when the Board of Zoning Appeals looked at it, when you look at what they were considering on the agenda, did it say that one lot was being considered, or both lots were being considered by the BZA?
Larry's second sentence in his staff report talks about 32-foot by 80-foot parcel. And the lots weren't discussed further in that. So he identified it together, and then when the meeting minutes were discussed, that's where 2 lots were addressed in the motion. which would, conform or agree with Larry's 32 by 80. Now, it didn't go on to say what they could build beyond the actual physical restaurant. It just included both lots in that variance. And that's my question. Do they have the opportunity, and maybe not, to go back to Board of Zoning Appeals and saying, this is what I want to establish in that second portion of now my one lot?
And I guess again, in everyone's mindset, just so you understand that, if you take this out from being a rezoning and we move it back to just being considered by the Board of Zoning Appeals as a non-conforming use, that's how it's allowed to be a business there today in that neighborhood, is a non-conforming use. The ordinance clearly states that there is no expansion of non-conforming uses. So that needs to be some of the consideration that you as the commissioners have. If you really feel that this type of a business shouldn't be in this neighborhood, or its expansion shouldn't be in this neighborhood, then yes, kicking it back to the Board of Zoning Appeals may be the direction you go in. I apologize for my phone going off right now. There's a chance that if you do consider this a historic use, a long-term use in this neighborhood of this type of a business operation, and you don't feel what's being proposed is necessarily out of character, you just may not have all the right tools within your zoning ordinance to move this forward in a clean fashion. But I think there is a path to move it forward if the applicant is willing to put some limitations on what the commercial uses would be on this property. That could be a way to move this forward that makes it comfortable for a business use within this neighborhood in recognition of its long-term use as a business in this residential neighborhood. So I know that's slightly different than what we talked about this afternoon, Paul, but I had to go back and reread the non-conforming section of the ordinance because I knew that was a big component of transitioning this from a barber shop to a restaurant, i.e. ice cream sandwich shop.
All right, I'm just exploring whether or not that's a path to go down as opposed to rezone with limitations.
Right, and at this point, the only thing I think in Miss Baker's favor is we are on the path of rezoning consideration, i.e. the first hearing being scheduled and held this evening. Council is aware that this is in motion. So they would be prepared to move it forward onto their public hearing calendar once the Planning Commission provides their recommendation. In that regard, so I think it puts us about the same timeline either way, because if you continue on the rezoning, it still has one more hearing to go. If you move it over to move over to the Board of Zoning Appeals, they still need to schedule it for their hearing processes as well. And whether I could get that on for the March calendar, I don't know yet at this point.
Well, the bottom line with Board of Zoning Appeals, if they were to deny, that's the end. Circuit courts is next.
Correct. She could appeal any denial to the circuit court from the Board of Zoning Appeals decisions. Yes.
There is nothing to stop her from opening this business up as long as she doesn't use that extra lot. Am I right?
That's correct. She can operate the business under the non-conforming use that was there before. It's only been closed, not even for a full year, so it's still within the non-conforming use statute. I think the challenge that she would have, and Ms. Baker could speak to this, is I think in her proposal, she is eliminating any indoor seating. There still would be a patronage in terms of come inside, place your order, because she does have a door that's listed for patron access. And I presume there's counter space there. It's just they would need to go back outside because there would be no eating within the interior space at this point in time.
Yeah, and I don't think that the town needs that kind of press where people are going to say, so, but you clearly have a drive-through that I can't drive through. Why? And that we would post a sign that tells them why. So we don't want to go down that road.
Well,
that's pointless.
You were allowed to do that, but you knew doing it that you didn't have full approval of what you wanted to do. So
Well, I could do it as a residence too, if we really wanted to. If we really don't want somebody to succeed here and make any money in this town, I mean, you're dithering over what we color that we color it on your plat. What difference does this actually make in reality? Whether I am zoned residential, but I have conditional use to use it, and to say that you can use half your lot, but not the other half. We are literally talking 30 by 40 feet. This is smaller than most people's backyards. This is, but, and it is adjacent to an enormous church. That's not a residence. So you just walk through the area and go, what is the problem with making this a place where somebody can conveniently buy an ice cream as opposed to inconveniently? I think we have you have become completely wrapped around what a zoning rule is over a 30 by 40 foot piece of territory. Somewhere in there, I lost 2 feet. You may have had 32 5 years ago, but it's down to 30 by 8.
Suzanne, you need to understand something. Every decision we ponder and come to an agreement on has to be defensible in a court of law. We must abide by a specific process. We have clear boundaries because this is a state where we only have the right to do what the state gives us permission to do. It's not dithering. This is honest work we're going through here. Just so you understand.
No.
Mike, did you have a question?
Yes, Bill. I'm just want to remind everybody that the item on the agenda is to whether or not we want to change the zoning from the current R1 to C1. That's the main item that we're going to vote yes or no on. So I just wanted to comment myself that I'm addicted to frozen custard. I mean, I was a Northern Virginia kid that 7 Corners, there was this place there that whenever I could get to it. And in Alexandria, we still go to this place that's near King Street. But now, looking at what it means to be in a residentially zoned area, I see the zoning district is intended to provide quiet. That's the first word that comes out in the definition. And I can relate to that on the idea that on the 4th of July, we have a fantastic parade down Mason Avenue. And one of the phenomenal things that I've enjoyed is that when I come back from that parade, coming across Central Park and Mason, and getting to Jefferson and Washington, things are quiet as a mouse. And I can celebrate what I just saw and being an American and all through the use of that quiet. And so I'm really concerned that something that increases in magnitude over what had been there before would be disruptive of this notion of quiet. And the concerns that's been expressed by the residential R1 property owners, I think they have serious rights that need to be protected. And so as much as I hope somehow there can be some frozen on custard there, I think this particular request to be rezoned from R1 to C1 should not be approved.
This is Dennis again. I want to carry forward an idea that hit me earlier. Suzanne, should this go through, I strongly suggest that you make sure town council understands your view of the validity of the comments from the public comment. Because without the color that you gave us tonight that characterized, full-time, part-time residents or anything like that, that needs to be brought forward to council to make sure they're making an informed decision. Understood?
Yes, I can do that. And
Okay,
and
no, I'm just trying to do it. We're all trying to do the right thing here.
Right.
we're trying to do what we can to give you every tool we have in our purview to get this thing through.
And I appreciate that. It's
No
and
problem.
my frustration is coming from that I'm not understanding the difference between the function of what would be happening, including noise or no noise, light, trash,
Mhm.
business, between the paperwork saying this area is zoned commercial or it's zoned residential with conditional use. You see where my perspective is?
Yes, I do. I
It
do.
looks the same to
Yep.
me, Monday through Friday on the block, so.
Yep.
And
I don't,
also that I am a taxpayer and a property owner, and that I live in a residence, and it is now a tourist town. 7 years ago, it was so quiet here, and those days are gone. And we have chosen to be an attraction, and that comes with it. My residence is no longer quiet. I am surrounded by rental units and heavy drinkers apparently, but I know that this is a beach town.
I understand.
That's what comes with it.
Yeah, I hear you.
If I may, Suzanne, just to clarify one element, a conditional zoning would actually place this as commercial, but with conditions upon that commercial activity and usage. So it's not just a color on the map. It really is taking it away from residential. And right now you're proposing to move it to commercial, and we have outlined an additional path that might be more palatable, is a conditional rezoning to commercial.
And that is what I would like to do. So, help me do it. I don't know the forms or what you need from me, but that is what I would like to do.
And I think I am just waiting to ensure all of the commissioners have had a chance to speak on this matter.
I think from my perspective, if one of the conditions were to be food service, but not including alcoholic, specifically excluding alcoholic beverages, anything like that, so that the nature of what you're doing is spelled out. And I think that may help alleviate some questions for future use. Because if it's just down as an eating and drinking establishment, that could mean many things. So I think I would have a hard time supporting a change that would include potentially down the road the service of alcohol on that property.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I had thought of that. That is true. I have no plans for that. And I do not want that area to become like the corner neighborhood bar. So completely concur.
I'm still going back to the comprehensive plan. We have a very distinct commercial district in Cape Charles. There are no other little stores of any kind in the residential area. So it doesn't seem to me as if that is an appropriate use, but the fact that it's a non-conforming property makes it able to be used for what it is. But if we change the zoning, then we've got commercial there, and we have the possibility of it change a property around it changing into commercial. She can run her business whether we rezone it or not. So I don't see why we're rezoning it, because if we rezone it, it's forever.
Absolutely correct, forever. But that's where the conditions come in that may help sell this, for lack of a better term, to all the folks who have to weigh in on it. That's all.
Well, I'll just say the conditions that I'm not looking for is to allow expansion for food service onto that second portion. It's one thing to have a driveway and a roundabout there, but that would be the condition in my mind that we would be looking to limit that development too.
But there's not going to be any service if there's people.
So could we say into the condition that the building square footage, it can't, well, it's right on the property line in two directions. So it can't go upward and it can't cross over the vacated property line, the structure. In other words, that the building square footage is your.
Yeah, that's all I'm getting at is I'm looking that the footprint stays where it is.
Yes.
And that some secondary structure is not allowed on the remainder of that property.
Right. So you couldn't like tear down that building and put up one that was, you couldn't anyway with the setbacks, but I understand.
Or
we could word
move it, you know, build something small, like as Diane was saying, a little jewelry shop or an antique, whatever, or that I'm not looking to have that expansion into that second portion of the property.
No permanent structures. How's that for the language?
No, because I can put a temporary shed there and sell something, umbrellas or something. I'm not here to say what wording is. I'm just telling you what I would be able to at least consider. Right now, just rezoning to C1, no, not for me.
I'm sorry, so what are you saying?
I am saying I'm willing to entertain a conditional rezoning. But tonight, you know, converting it right over to C1, no, I'm not ready to vote for that.
So the fact that the neighbors nearby are not interested in it becoming commercial, that's beside the point, because we want this business to what, get larger? It's already.
No, right now I'm looking at that business is staying in the same footprint and I'm providing a drive-through for it.
I'm providing
And
what? What was the last
A
part?
drive-through for it and picnic tables. Alternatively, that piece of property, that little section there can never be used for anything. You cannot build anything on that piece of property as R1.
As we look at how other food service, ice cream kinds of places on Mason Avenue that have gone to restricting indoor eating have created issues on the sidewalk, I think this idea of having tables off to the side helps keep that area potentially cleaner and less of a problem for the neighbors. So I like the idea of what you're talking about, but like Paul said, I couldn't support it just as a straight rezoning to C1.
So let me add a comment here. So Katie had said it would be zoned to C1 condition with a conditional use permit. Is that what you were saying, Katie?
Not quite, Bill. It actually would be a conditional rezoning to C1, and the applicant would proffer some of these conversations, I think, that are having this evening. Again, she would voluntarily proffer, and if that is acceptable, what the statements of her proffer are, those would then be accepted as part of the rezoning. That would be marked on the zoning map that there are proffers, there are conditions on the rezoning, on this commercial one zoning. And those would be permanently recorded with the clerk's office so that, again, anyone can find out what they are. The town would maintain those conditions and would be affixed forever as we considered any future permits that would come through our door on this property.
Oh, okay, thank you. So what I've heard here is it seems that the best route forward now is for Ms. Baker to get with you, Katie, after all that's been said here and done, and map out those proffers and what the conditional zoning would include based on the discussion here, and to come back to us at the next meeting.
Yes, and what we can do is I can talk with the town administrator, the town manager, and get this queued up to be on the council's April calendar for public hearing, because they have to request it to go to public hearing as well. So it would be an April council public hearing regardless. So that allows us time to bring it back to this planning commission at your April meeting, see the proffer statement, see if you then could be in support of this application, and we can develop our recommendation then in time to advance it to the public hearing before the town council.
Thank you.
One
Okay.
last thing, if you don't mind. I
Go
just
ahead.
want to make sure that that is a possible thing, because I would hate for Ms. Baker to go through this for another month and it's not able, because it seems to me that in the C1 zoning, she can already do this. And the only conditional use it speaks to is single family and multifamily dwellings. So how would she get a conditional use for something that she can already have in that zoning?
Again,
Yeah.
it's a misunderstanding of this term. So conditional zoning is different than a conditional use permit. So what we are making Ms. Baker aware is under your ordinance, there is conditional zoning saying, I'd like to go to a commercial zone. However, as part of that request, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I won't do uses 5 through 20 on your list, but I'd like still the ability to do uses 1, 2, and 3, and whatever other conditions you would like to put on that, which could also be things like, in other examples I've had in my experience, could be on hours of operation. It could be on design elements. It could be on any number of things that somebody may wish to proffer that they feel may make their application more palatable to the legislative body.
Yeah.
So it's not a conditional use permit. It is a conditional zoning with very specific conditions saying, I'm not going to have the ability to all the by right uses allowed in that zoning district. And I am willingly agreeing to put conditions on those.
And those conditions last in perpetuity.
That's correct.
Yes.
But I'd like to know, this currently it's R1 with a variance, correct, Katie?
It is R1, and it is a non-conforming use. And a
Okay.
variance has confirmed that designation of a barber shop to a restaurant. Yes.
Okay, so I'd just like to know why that would not work in this case and why it has to go to a conditional rezoning, that's all. Not necessarily tonight, but in the information that comes out, why that isn't adequate.
Sure. And I think I can answer that so it's clear to the public that may be listening or viewing this later. Again, the expansion of that drive-through window and the drive-through component with the golf cart and those outdoor seating options, the picnic tables that she is proposing on what would have been 30, I'm going to get it wrong, 303?
303 and 309. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
On that what used to be the vacant lot would be considered an expansion of the non-conforming use, and that is not allowed under your ordinance to expand a non-conforming
Okay,
use.
okay, thank you. Okay.
Sure.
Any more discussion on this?
I just asked a process question for Katie. If we were to deny the designation to C1, just that's it. That was what's on the table and we deny it. Does she have the opportunity then to put together a conditional rezoning request and take it to council?
Yes, because your action this evening is a recommendation to the town council. So you could take action this evening and put your position on the table relative to this application as it's presented tonight. This would still advance to town council for them to hold their public hearing on the application being requested. Ms. Baker could still submit a proffer statement to the town seeking to put conditions on what her rezoning request would do. It just,
For town council, or does it
Yes.
have to come?
for town council, it does not need to come back to this body. And again, this becomes more, and this is something I am still learning. What is the role and relationship that the council sees to the planning commission? And in my experience has always been, the council really is looking to the planning commission to help guide them through their governance doctrines,
Yep.
the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan, to ensure that these sorts of applications really are viewed within that whole scope of work.
So,
That's correct, Katie, yeah.
and that is correct. And,
Yep.
you know, I just want to make sure that everybody here understands that even if we pass this tonight, it probably wouldn't be going to a public hearing with town council until April. So if you do what was just said by Paul, town council could say, well, we want to hear from the planning commission. So it could lose another month. It could lose another 2 months in that venue if they say, oh, no, we want the planning commission to weigh in on this. So I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so again, I'm just advocating that it comes back to planning commission again before it goes to town council.
I
Yes,
think that
and-
makes sense. Yeah.
And what I was envisioning, Paul, was I would inform the town manager, give him a status report of tonight's hearing, and at least ask the planning commission to authorize staff to advertise it for public hearing, so that we get that public hearing process in motion, because that takes a couple of weeks to get the ads in and the requisite number of ads that have to go in as well. But again, it wouldn't actually go to public hearing before the town council until their April meeting, which allows it to come back to your April meeting before the council meeting when the council's the middle of the
Thursday.
month?
Yeah,
Sorry.
third Thursday of the month.
There you go. So I think there is sufficient time to receive a proffer offer from Ms. Baker. And I'm happy to have that conversation with her to assist her in getting that done. Again, she would have to voluntarily proffer that. It's not something that we are requiring her to do. And then we can take a position, and you can take your recommendation at your April meeting on this application.
I just want to remind everyone, she can open this shop regardless of how long it takes to do the rest of this. So
Yes.
we need to keep that in mind. We're not keeping her from opening that shop. And I personally would like her to open that shop very soon. I live on Jefferson Avenue, and I was a big customer of Coolitz, and I'll be a big customer of hers. But I think we need to understand she can open without us making this decision. So we need to make
Correct.
sure we're making a decision we want to make and we can uphold.
Okay, so we've had a lot of good discussion here. I think Ms. Baker did a good job with stating her case and also with the comments that were read in from the public. So do I have a motion to
I would recommend, Mr. Chairman, a motion to table this until your April meeting.
So moved.
Second,
okay, so we have a motion to table this until the April meeting in a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor with a roll call vote.
McCoy, aye.
Buda, aye.
Holloway, aye.
Drew, bye.
Yamamoto,
Grossman, aye.
Okay, we have a unanimous vote. So thank you, Ms. Baker. So we'll see you in April.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, council.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, next item is the application for conditional use permit to allow a second floor residential dwelling unit above the first floor commercial at 1 Fig Street, tax map number 83 Alpha 3-1-534, set a public hearing.
Okay, this is Dennis. I'm trying to figure out why this is not by right already.
This is because it's a residential above the commercial.
It's
Yes,
a
you-
conditional use.
Yes, your
Conditional
zoning
use
is C2, commercial, District 2, and it requires for any residential unit, it has to be through conditional use permit.
Okay, okay, fair enough.
There was one issued, but it expired.
That's correct. There had
Nice.
been a prior cup on the property, but that has expired. There was no active movement to implement that cup.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And I know that 3 of us were here when that happened. So
Yeah, the owner was on his way to, never mind. He expired too. Okay.
okay, so do you have anything else to say there, Katie, on this application?
I don't have anything further. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, the information we provided in the packet. I do know, and I think Mr. Latimer is on the line with us and can speak if you have any additional questions. And I have spoken with the interested the interested buyer to the property as well, who's also conveyed that they would keep this as a commercial property on the first floor and use of the second floor for residential, for one residential unit.
I had one question. Does this floor plan cover the entire second floor?
That I don't know, Mr. Grossman, and I don't know if the applicant could provide us that answer, but it's definitely something I can add and make sure I give you that answer for the full staff report at the public hearing.
Yeah, it's not gonna sway me one way or the other. I'm just interested to see if this is the sole unit upstairs on that second floor, or there's opportunity for other.
I'm making a note of that.
Okay.
And I just.
Is this,
Well, Josh, you're on the phone.
yes, how are you doing?
Did you hear the question?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay, I'm sorry, I missed the question. Do you mind repeating that? I apologize.
Yeah, the question was as simple as this proposed layout, does this cover the entire second floor of this building?
Yes, sir. It's approximately 40 foot by 40 foot.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, any discussion by the commissioners?
Well,
Actually, I did have a quick question. I think it's a clarification because I was looking at the drawing that we got and they're not labeled, but getting to what Paul was talking about, the drawing seems to show 3 windows, but yet when you look at the actual photo of the building, it actually looks to be 4 windows there. So is there a plan to redo the second floor windows or is something missing?
Yes, I can respond to that if I will.
Okay.
Or may I? Yes, no, I absolutely would stick to the original building as it is. I don't have any plans to open up more openings or close in anything.
Okay.
I want to keep everything all original. So if that's a little typo there, I do apologize. But no, there's no intention to, redo an opening or create a new opening or anything like that.
but Josh, just a quick clarification. You do plan to make some changes to the upstairs exterior, don't you, in the way of some grading or something? Or a balcony or something?
The exterior
No,
The exterior upstairs.
that's that's the
No.
one on Mason Avenue you're thinking of, Mike.
Maybe I am. Okay, so the exterior is gonna look the same?
Yes, sir. It would look the same, just updated and renovated.
Okay, so probably, yep. No, I know the lemon tree, but I was, okay. But so it probably wouldn't come before the historic board then, because I was thinking it would because of some plan changes to the outside. Okay. Okay,
I'll make a motion that we recommend scheduling a public hearing for conditional use permit for 1 Fig Street
Second,
for our April 5th, 2021 meeting.
Second,
second that? Okay,
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
sorry.
Any further discussion? Need a roll call vote, please?
McCoy, yes.
Beauty, yes.
aye.
Holloway, yes.
D'Amico, yes.
Grossman, yes.
All right. We will have, this will go to a public hearing on April 5th.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Lattimore.
Great. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay,
Okay, good night.
Good night.
night. The next order of business is an application for conditional use permit to allow 2 residential dwelling units above the first floor, commercial at 301 Mason Avenue, tax map number 83 Alpha 3-1-615 Bravo, and to set a public hearing. And I think we have the respective owner on the line. So do you have anything to say on this, Katie?
Again, no, I think it's self-explanatory. So we are just looking for authorization to move this forward to public hearing. The only thing I have not done and would appreciate if anyone knows that history is has that second floor been residential prior to now? And I just put that out just because I don't know the history of this building.
I can't answer that. Can anybody else? I thought it was just a big open space and it's just storage up there, but that I may be wrong.
And that doesn't change anything. It just helps me understand the history of the property. That's
So,
all.
it may be-
I can speak a little bit if you'd like, although it's not conclusive.
Oh, that's great.
Go ahead.
So this is Chris Elam, by the way. I'm an architect representing John and Clelia Shepherd. But so the second floor, it appears to have been offices previously and has not been occupied in some time, but does not appear to have been residential whenever it was last occupied.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Chris.
you.
Discussion?
I'll make a motion that we schedule, the planning commission schedule a public hearing on a conditional use permit for the 2 units above 301 Mason for our April 5th, 2021 meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Beauty, aye.
Any further discussion, right? Any further discussion? All right. I need a roll call vote.
McCoy, yes.
Beauty, yes.
True, yes.
D'Amico, yes.
Grossman, yes.
Thank you, Chris.
And thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second,
Second,
I need a roll call vote.
McCoy, yes.
Beauty, yes.
True, yes.
D'Amico, yes.
Holloway,
Grossman,
yes.
yes.
Thank you all. Thanks again,
Thank
Katie.
you all.
Oh, thank you.
Libby, and
Thank you.
thank you, Katie, and
Yeah,
thank you.
Libby too,
Tracy.
for sure. Yes, yes.
Thank you, all the commissioners.
Yes, of course.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Libby. Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Katie. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Good night.
Hey, John.
Good
Well
night.
done. Well done, Katie. Boy, you came right in there and did well. That's, thank you.